Okay, for our last set of notes, we are going to talk about form and space, and you have a handful of little boxes that you need to cut out for those notes today. So go ahead and pause me while you cut out all of the pieces for form and space, and unpause me when you are ready to start gluing things onto the form page. Alright, so a form is a three-dimensional or a two-dimensional object that has length, width, and height. For three-dimensional objects, it's a thing you can actually sit and measure and hold in your hand. For two-dimensional objects, it has the illusion of having those third dimension. So we use tricks and different techniques to create a sense of a three-dimensional object on a two-dimensional surface. The first trick that we can use in order to create that is going to be forms made with shading. And that's this first one right here. All of this roundness of the figure is created by light and dark areas shaded onto the figure. So you can glue the first one down to that box right there. The next picture is a bunch of one-point perspective drawings. Those are made with perspective. They do have a front face that is shaded, but it's not actually shaded based on light. It's just the front box is shaded in box. The last one is when you combine shading and perspective together. This is going to be your most realistic technique. And so you can glue the last one on, forms made with shading and perspective, to that box right there. And then you have finished your notes on form. And you can flip to the very last page where we are going to talk about space. Okay, so space is going to be the area in the artwork. Everything is space, inside your subject, outside your subject, all around your objects. Everything is space. If you have a shallow picture, it's going to be a different way of talking about space than if your picture has a lot of depth and detail in the distance. If it's shallow, we use positive and negative space. If it has depth, we use foreground, middle ground, background space. So we have this leaping deer for our positive and negative space. Inside the deer itself is going to be positive, so you can glue the plus sign on top of the deer. And then you can put the negative sign somewhere around the outside of the deer, because anything not part of the deer, and that includes, these crisscrossing antlers, the legs that overlap, all of those black places are the positive space. Even the little white spaces where the legs overlap and there's a little tiny triangle, or where the antlers overlap and there's a little white space, that's all negative space. And it doesn't matter what color it is. Like the positive space could be bright orange and the negative space could be purple. It doesn't matter. Anything inside your subject is positive. Anything outside the subject is negative. That works really great when you have a simple artwork like this. It doesn't have a lot of depth. As soon as you have like a much more detailed picture, however, you can't say, positive, negative. You have to talk about foreground, middle ground, and background. And that talks about how close or far away the viewer is from the object in the picture. So you have these little F, M, and B. So foreground is going to be the closest to you. So somewhere in this region right here, you are going to put the F for foreground. This middle ground, you can see like the biggest person's here in the foreground. Slightly farther back, we have these slightly medium-sized people. This is the whole middle ground area. So the M is going to go somewhere in there. And then the background, we have the tiniest people off in the distance here and the sky back here. Anything that's about eye level or behind, that's going to be your background, because eye level tends to be the farthest back. If you can see the horizon, that's part of the background. And guess what, guys? That is the end of your notes packet. I want you to flip back through and make sure that you have filled in everything. If you have not, there are videos on Schoology where you can catch up on any of the notes that you were missing. I will be going through and checking to make sure that you did complete this. If you did not complete this, you gave yourself homework. If you did, yay, you're all done with your notes, and you can use this on your final exam to help you answer those questions. But otherwise, you're all set.